Om Sarvadharmastapakastvam Sarvadharmaswarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishna Te Namaha. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master, second part, as the spiritual aspirant or struggler or sadhana. And we started chapter first yesterday, and the name of the chapter is Sadhak and Sadhana. And though Saradananda Swamiji has handled it masterfully well, yet the subject itself is really, really very deep. And so there is no harm if we take it again today. Maybe with a little more explanations, different words, but we have to repeat it. So I am taking up para 2 again. The ultimate result of sadhana is the realization of Brahman in all beings. Now let us try to understand the words. And the important word is realization of Brahman in all beings. So first of all, Brahman. What is Brahman? Now it is from the root Bri, and the Brihan. And the meaning of this root is it grows and it makes others grow. It grows and it makes others grow. That is the meaning. Now if it grows, there is no limit set there. So it grows. How much it grows, how much it can grow. So the derived meaning is that it is all pervading. There is and it is beyond everything. Then only it can be in the Chatusutri, in the Vedanta Sutra Bhashya, Shankaracharya has said the word Brahman denotes something which is the greatest in all respects. So, greatest in all respects. And there Shankaracharya says that what can be the greatest in all respects? It has to be all-knowing. It has to be all-powerful. It has to be one without a second. It has to be the creator, preserver and destroyer of this world. And it has to be beyond everything. Automatically, he says, we get this meaning from the word Brahman. So, now we get a conception of what is Brahman. The greatest in all respects. Now, we see an ocean and there are small foam, bubbles, small waves, big waves. Now, there can be a biggest wave, but that is not the biggest. Then, ocean is the biggest. And if you go further, water is the biggest. So, these two things we may accept, water and first form is ocean. So if the ocean stands for the all-pervading Brahman, water stands for the Brahman which is beyond all forms. So this is Brahman. Now, man in general, if we take, has not even heard the word Brahman. He has, in India at least, he has a basic concept that there is a God. And what is a God? God is the ruler of this world. The world moves according to God's will or direction. That is the common man's concept. Now, this we can take is an aspect of Brahman. My Guruji used to explain this like this. Suppose there is a person, Mr. Subodh Mukherjee, and he is executive engineer in an office. So in the office he is called XN or executive engineer. His friends know him as Mr. Mukherjee. In the house he is Subodh Babu. Now these three names do not refer to three persons. In different context, that person has these three names. With this simile used to say, if we think what is the reality of this whole world, we say it Brahman. What is the reality of all individuals? Common reality of all individuals, we call it Atman. And who rules this world? Ishwar. So these three names carry the same meaning. Different contexts of three different names. We remember that at this point. In the Shatashatar Upanishad, it is explained that the reality which is all-pervading or immanent and also transcendent only can be the ruler of this world. So, that is the name, ruler. Now, another word here is, I think now we have some idea of Brahman or Ishwar or God as we call it. Though God or Ishwar do not convey the whole meaning. So, better word is Brahman. Now, second word important here is realization. That means Brahman today, just now we thought, is an idea. At the most, a conception. We have not seen it. We have not experienced it. So can we call it real? It may be the truth. It may be the absolute truth. It may be the truth beyond this world. It may be the truth unchanging. It may be the absolute truth. But real, we can call that thing which we experience. Till we experience, how can we call it real? So the truth, which today is an idea in our mind, requires to be experienced. Realization. That means to convert an idea into real something. That is realization. So this truth, which is only an idea, we have to realize it. That is, and then where to realize it? Where do we experience it? Basically we experience it in our hearts. But once we experience it, by its very definition, it is all pervading. And so, as an aspect of all pervading, we may say it exists in every being of this world. So the realization of Brahman means our experiencing God in all beings. And this Sri Ramakrishna has said is the ultimate result of sadhana. So the aim becomes clear. The aim or the end where we have to reach through sadhana, the sadhya, has become clear that there is the reality beyond everything, immanent in everything, creator, preserver and destroyer of the world. In one word, cause of the world. When we say cause, again let us understand rightly. We see in the world, a potter takes clay and prepares a pot. Now we have that experience. So the potter is called Nimitta Karan, the intelligent cause. Nimitta not in the sense of some pretext. Nimitta means the intelligent cause. And clay is called the material cause. Now in this respect, as Brahman is one without a second, there is no different material cause or there is no different intelligent cause, then the same Brahman as consciousness is the Nimitta Karan. And the same Brahman as existence is the material cause. So, this is, Brahman is also described, the nearest description is Sat Chit Anand. Existence, knowledge and bliss. Only when I think I exist, I get happiness, otherwise not. If I think I am not there, it is a sorrow. So, wherever there is existence, how do I know existence? Because we know it. And as soon as we know existence, there is a bliss associated with that. So, this Brahman again is called Sat Chit Anand. Now, as the Sat aspect, it is the material cause. As the Chit aspect, it is the intelligent cause. And as the bliss aspect, it is the most attractive thing in this world if we know it. If we would have got even a glimpse of this Brahman, we would have madly fallen in love with that. So, that is the bliss aspect. Now, to make it real, to experience it as the reality of everything in this world. So, that is the aim of sadhana. The master used to say, seeing Brahman or God in all beings is the last word of sadhana. That means the aim. It falls to the lot of man as the ultimate development of spiritual discipline. That is the meaning. Spiritual discipline or sadhana, we struggle spiritually. Spiritual struggle could have been better word. So, we struggle spiritually, and when we reach the goal, it is the realization of Brahman in all beings. That is also called Sarvatma Bhav. Thus say the Vedas and the Upanishads. So, Vedas in general, Upanishads in particular, tell us like that. We are not discussing what is Vedas and what is Upanishads here. Vedas means the subtler knowledge given by the rishis. Upanishads mean the end of this subtler knowledge which tells us about the reality one without a second. The most authoritative scriptures of the Hindus. So because in Hinduism there are innumerable scriptures, but all the scriptures are dependent upon Vedas, that is the most authoritative scriptures, Vedas and Vedanta. Now that very thing is described, how it will be realized, what it will be, what is the truth which is to be realized. Whatever you see in the world, gross or subtle, there are certain things which the yogis experience, man with a subtler perception experiences, mind, indriyas, they are words for us, but they are experienced. So they are called subtle, and gross are the things which everybody experiences. Sentient or insentient, in our feeling, certain things don't have the sentience, and like stocks and stones. And certain things, even they may be stationary, like plants, they have sentience. Animals, man, so that is described further. Men and animals, gods and demigods, that is the subtler region. Demi means semi, half, God-like. Mud and bricks and beams, mud and stones, plants and trees, men and animals, gods and demigods are, they say, the non-dual Brahman. One more word we got here, non-dual, which is included in the definition of Brahman. There is nothing aside than Brahman. And then only we say Brahman is in all beings. So, non-dual Brahman. It is the reality of Brahman. Now, Brahman is a word, but what is the reality? It is the reality of Brahman alone that you, means man in general, see, hear, touch, smell and taste in various forms. So, throughout the world there are various forms, as he has described, bricks and beams and all that. And we touch a being. That means Brahman is the reality of that being. So we are touching Brahman. We are eating Brahman. We are tasting Brahman. We are seeing Brahman. We are hearing Brahman. We are smelling Brahman. This all sages are telling, the seers. Although all your day-to-day dealings throughout your life are with it, you are not conscious of it. Luckily means Sadhana Swamiji's words are exact. People generally say we have forgotten our nature. We have not forgotten. The fact is that we do not experience it. You are not conscious of it. And you think you are dealing with different things and persons. You think, or that is your present knowledge or consciousness. This will probably be easily understood by the reader if we describe here by way of questions and answers the gist of the doubts that arise in our minds on hearing the above statement and of the refutations thereof by the scripture. So the sages know everything, sages know our mind, they know what doubts are coming and they will remove them. Question: why is this fact not directly felt by us? Fact of experience, but we do not directly feel it. Why? Answer: you are in a delusion. Delusion, that means we are wrongly perceiving a thing. That is the meaning of delusion. It is there, Brahman. We are seeing it as man. So we are wrongly perceiving Brahman. We are wrongly perceiving Brahman as man. So that is a delusion. Why the fact is not perceived? Because our perceptions are wrong. Delusion. How can you detect it till it is removed? So it is delusion. How to know that it is delusion? So long as we are deluded, we think that is real. So only when this delusion is removed, we can know that it was a delusion. It is by comparison with real things and states only that we detect external and internal delusions. The world and in our mind, everything we have a wrong concept of, and if we have the right concept at least, then only we know that it was a delusion. Similarly, you must have that kind of knowledge if you want to detect that delusion. Knowledge of our reality, knowledge of reality of the internal world, knowledge of reality of the external world. Unless that, how will know delusion? Question: well, what is the cause of that delusion and when did it arise in us? The heading says, truth does not become immediately known on account of the delusion and ignorance. As long as one is in delusion, one cannot know the cause. Anyway, let us read the Answer. Answer. The cause of delusion here is the same as it is everywhere. It is ignorance. Let us understand this more clearly. Take some example. Rope is seen as snake. Why? People try to answer it in various ways. They say because rope is like snake, we see snake. My question is rope not more like rope than snake? So this cannot be the answer. One moon, when we are in cataract, we see two moons. What is similar? So similarity is no explanation. Now rope is sometimes seen in semi-darkness as a crack in the earth, as a line drawn by somebody, as a stream of water. So what is similar? So what is the cause? The only cause is that we do not know it is a rope. That is ignorance. The only cause we shall find out that we do not know it is Brahman. We do not know it is the all-pervading, Satchit Ananda, one without a second, transcendent immanent reality. We do not know it, so we see something else. That should be understood. That ignorance here means, I told yesterday, wrong knowledge. Ignorance means we do not know the real nature of thing. That can be the only cause of delusion. All delusions, as Saradananda says here, it is the same as it is everywhere. So in all the examples, that the only cause, if at all there can be cause of delusion, is that we do not know the real nature of the thing. Nothing else can be called a cause. It is ignorance. How can you know when that ignorance arose? Now time. That ignorance in the real nature of the reality, there is no change absolutely. So there is no sense of time. So when that delusion arose, that means time. Time is a part of that delusion. As long as you are in ignorance, your efforts to know it are in vain. So the example is given, as long as one dreams a dream, one remains convinced that it is real. When sleep breaks, the dream is compared with the waking state and is known as unreal. So only in comparison with the real things, we will know the thing. Delusion. Unreal. You may raise the objection that certain persons have sometimes the conviction that they are dreaming when they are actually in the dream sense, but there also they get the conviction that from the memory of their waking state. So it is called a mixed state. Sometimes you are dreaming and little awake. So because we are little awake, we have that comparison and we say it is dream. Similarly, some people are seen to have the memory of the reality of the non-dual Brahman. Memory means glimpse, experience, and they remember we have seen it. When they are conscious of the world in the waking state. So, like dream, in the waking state, we use dream because today it is not real, we can compare it. Waking state we are identified, so we cannot use it for this purpose. But having analyzed dream, apply that same to the waking state. That in waking state, we do not know the reality, so we are seeing something else. And we cannot find the time in waking state. All our concepts of time are concepts of change, something happening. Like hour, that is hour we have divided ourselves. Day is the smallest unit we see, earth moving round itself. Month, either 12th part of the sun's motion or moon's motion around the earth, approximately same, so that is called a month. And the earth moves around the sun, so that is called the year, or sun moves around the earth, whatever you like to call it. So without the concept of change, you have no concept of time. And as the reality is defined, unchanging, there is no question of time there. Then what is the way out? We'll ask them. That means unless we come out, we cannot know it is delusion. Then what is the way out? Answer. The way out is to remove that ignorance. So that because it is wrong, because we do not know a thing, real nature of a thing, that wrong knowledge can be removed. And that is the only way. I can tell you with certainty that ignorance and delusion, ignorance, we do not know that thing, delusion, we are seeing something else, can be removed, certainty. There he is sure because he is also one of the sages. The ancient seers were able to remove them. So that is the testimony. And I have left us instructions about the method. That is important. He has realized and he tells us this is the method. If you follow, you will also realize. So we are sure that it is like that. Very well. Question. But before we proceed to know those means, we want to put one or two more questions. You assert that to be unreal. You assert that to be unreal, which we and so many others see and feel to be real. And you call that alone to be real, which a few sages have seen and experienced. May it not be that their immediate perception was wrong? Here, few and many. Now we can judge by the effect in life. If we have real knowledge, then our life will be different. And because we have wrong knowledge, we are suffering. It is very clear. Answer. There is no such rule that what many believe is alone true. They say majority consists of fools. It is not democracy that we shall decide by majority. I say that the direct knowledge of the seers is true. Direct knowledge. They see it just as we see this, more direct because they attain freedom from fear in all respect. First effect is our life is beset with fear. Their life is free from fear. And enjoyed eternal peace. Our life is eternal non-peace and their life is peace. Freed from all kinds of misery. Our life is dukkhalayam, their life has no misery. With the help of that knowledge. So that knowledge is real, which produces these effects in man. What the seer saw the world to be is alone true, the reason for it. Moreover, they became aware of a great purpose underlying all the efforts and endeavors of human life ending in inevitable death. We are struggling and end in death. But what is the cause of struggle? Why man struggles? Because, I'll tell you in short, man has that real nature and he is not aware of that real nature. Man has all these qualities which described just now within himself, but he is not aware of them. And he searches them outside. That is the reflection. And that is all the struggle. And we do not know it. So the search goes wrong. We search it here, there, there. The search among the shadows, the reality is not perceived. And so it ends in death. That is sure. Besides right knowledge, some more things always unfolds in human mind. Unfold. That means it is there already. Unfolds in human mind. Forbearance. Even if people, they say, even if people shout on us, beat us, the mind does not have any reaction Because for him, it is Brahman alone which is in this form is coming to him. And there are several examples of this. Contentment, he is not seeking this or that in the world because he is satisfied in Brahman. Compassion, because he knows people do not know it, so they suffer, so he has compassion. Humility, he sees Brahman in all, so he is humble. And other noble qualities and endows it with a wonderful magnanimity. And he becomes so broad because Brahman is broad. And when he knows that Brahman is his reality, his mind assumes a universal form. We know from the scriptures, and this is testimony, is always sages and seers, one of which is Saradananda, that the seers possess those uncommon qualities, uncommon, and powers, and will come across them in people who, following in their footsteps, have achieved perfection. Again, like Saradananda Swami. Question. Well, how is it that all of us have the same delusion? So first was that they, few, realize when you are calling real. We, many, though the word all was used, we, many, see something you are calling it unreal. That has been answered. But now the question is, I see a particular delusion. Why you see the same delusion? Generally in the world, if a man is due to some mental derangement is deluded, others are not deluded. So here the question is, why everybody has the same delusion? Delusion, although shared by many, is not right knowledge. But let's go the headings. Question, well, how is it that all of us have the same delusion? What I identify as a beast is also known by you as a beast and not as a man. And so it is with everything else. It is a matter of no little surprise that at the same time so many people are in the same delusion about all matters. It is everywhere seen that if a few people have a wrong knowledge of a certain thing, mad people, or due to some delusion, or they are in darkness, others are in light, others have the right one. But here that truth does not hold good at all. Therefore, what you say does not seem to be probable. Answer. You find here an exception to the rule because you do not count the few seers among the people, so all do not have the same. Otherwise, the reply is there in the question itself. But in reply to your question, how all people are under the same delusion, so a beautiful fact is being told. The scriptures say, the Rishis have seen that, in the limitless infinite cosmic mind. In the limitless infinite cosmic mind. Cosmic means totality, samashti. My mind, your mind, a mind which includes and transcends all these minds. We all have. The universe has arisen by way of ideation. An idea arises in the mind. So in the cosmic mind, an idea has arisen. It is the nature of the mind that it will always have ideas. And now, one idea is I, one idea is you, one idea is a tree, one idea is an animal. For me, you are outside me and you become real. For you, I am outside you, I become real. Trees, plants, they are outside us and they become real. That is why all people have the same delusion. And as the individual minds of yours, of mine, and of all people form parts of and are comprised in that cosmic mind, we all have to experience the same idea. This is why we cannot by our individual effort ideate a beast as anything else. So, there is an important point. Buddhistic idea is taken wrongly as Vedantic idea that subjective superimposition. No. We are not superimposing the world. The world is superimposed ideas in the universal mind, and we are seeing them. We are out to experience the same idea. That is why we cannot, by our individual efforts, ideate a beast as anything else. It is for the same reason that although one of us attains right knowledge and becomes free from that delusion, all others continue in it as before. So many and few, that is the general rule. But we can go beyond that delusion by knowing the truth. And our going beyond by knowing the truth does not affect others. They are still in that universal mind. So reply also tells us that why few people get freedom, others remain same. One thing more, although the idea, the universe is an idea, arises in the all-pervading mind of the omnipresent person, he does not get entangled like us in the bondage of ignorance. Idea in his mind, so he knows it is idea in my mind. But we become part of that ideation and we think it is outside us and real. So he is not deluded, though he has ideas. For he, the all-knowing person, sees the non-dual reality of Brahman interpenetrating the ideation. So he may idea, but inside that idea, the reality is Brahman, and he is seeing that. Both in and out of the universe. In and out because if it is in the universe becomes bigger than Brahman. If it is only outside, then inside something different. So it is described as inside and outside, including the middle portion, if you like. in and out of the universe born of ignorance. It is because we cannot do it that our case is different. We cannot see the interpenetrating Brahman. For as the master would say, a snake has poison, it's a simile, poison in his mouth, it takes his food daily through it, still it remains unaffected by the poison, but anyone whom it bites meets with instantaneous death. Therefore, from the standpoint of the scriptures, from the vision given by the scriptures, it is seen that the universe, which is an idea in the universal mind, is in a way an ideation of our mind also, because our mind is a part. For our limited individual minds have an eternal, inseparable relation with the aggregate universal mind. We are parts. Like that between the limbs and the body. Again, same parts. Again, it cannot be said that there was a time when the aforesaid ideation was not in existence. So, Ishwar and Srishti are parallel lines. Always they are there. Sometimes it may be pralaya, but that ideation is always there. Again, it cannot be said that there was a time when the aforesaid ideation was not in existence in the universal mind and that it came into existence afterwards. For the two things, name and form, or space and time, without which there could be no diversity. What we know by universe, diversity. And diversity depends upon different names, different forms, or in space, time causes changes, and in space, the different things are seen. So both these stand for Maya, the delusion. without which there could be no diversity, are included in the idea of the universe. Or in other words, they have an eternal and inseparable coherence with the said idea. Coherence means staying together. So the ideation came, the time came. By little calm thinking, the reader will be able to understand it and know why the Vedas and other scriptures teach that Prakriti or Maya is called Prakriti, nature, because it is natural for God to have that. And it is Maya because it is not exactly real. It is the cause of this world, but itself it is not real. That is why it is called Maya, or like magic, the ultimate material of creation. So, as I said, that is the material of creation. The wrong knowledge, the existence, when not seen as one universal existence, become the material cause. It is beginningless and beyond time. Because when that time is simultaneous with the creation. If the universe is an idea of the mind, and if the beginning of that idea is not within what we understand by time, it comes to that simultaneous with the idea called time, the idea called the universe exists in the universal mind. Okay. Whether it is manifested or unmanifested. In dream, the sense of time is completely different. In Brahmaloka, the sense of time is completely different. So it depends upon the ideation only. As our limited individual minds have been experiencing that idea for an infinitely long time. Here time is used because we have been experiencing and experiencing always. They have a firm belief in the real existence of the universe. We have seen that. And having been debarred from the immediate knowledge of the reality of the non-dual Brahman for a long time, they do not know that the universe is a mere idea and are now unable to detect their error. For we have already said that it is by a comparison with real things and states only that we can detect external and internal errors. Now it is clear that our conception, experience, etc. of the universe assume their present forms as a result of our habits accumulated over an almost infinite long time. Almost infinite long time. That means we do not know when it began. So if you want to have the right knowledge of the universe, we shall have to be acquainted with the entity beyond name and form. So the unchanging entity, which has no names, no form, because there are limitations. Time and space, because there are the limitations and changes. Mind and intellect, internal instruments, and all other things comprised in the universe, they are within the universe. The effort to have that acquaintance has been described as sadhana by the Veda. So here it defines sadhana. The effort, if we become acquainted with Brahman, all this will vanish, and so the effort to know, realize it, make it real, experience it, is called sadhana. That is the fundamental definition of sadhana. By the Vedas and other scriptures, and in India, men and women in whom that effort exists, with or without their knowledge, are called sadhakas. He has added without their knowledge, because we see bhakti sadhakas, they don't believe like that, but their aim itself goes on evolving, and they ultimately have the same concept. Generally speaking, the aforesaid effort in search of the reality beyond the universe has taken its course along two main channels. One is what has been called in the Shastras neti neti, not this, or the path of knowledge. Knowledge means analysis. So it analyzes, finds this is not true, this is not true. And the other, iti, this, or the path of devotion. This is God's form, this is God's form, this is God's form, this is God's creation. So that is why the devotion grows. The immanence of God gives rise to devotion. That is called iti, because everything we see, God is immanent. The aspirant following the path of knowledge has from the beginning a conception of the ultimate ideal. He has not realized it, but his conception is there. And always remembering it, and that is constant in his mind, goes forward consciously towards that idea. So consciously, I want that. Whatever comes, I will go by beyond. The traveler on the path of devotion remains very often ignorant of where he will go. He knows God and he loves him, that's all. What it will lead him to, let it lead. He will go ultimately. He accepts higher and higher ideals one after another as he goes forward and at last becomes directly acquainted with the non-dual reality beyond the universe. Yesterday we saw that God, we love him, then we are parts of him, then we are not separate, like that. This is the only point of difference between the two. Then what is common? For the travelers on both the paths have to renounce the conception about the universe held by the common man. Common man, world is real and it is for my enjoyment. That has to be given up. The man on the path of knowledge tries to renounce it in all respects from the beginning. Absolutely unreal. That is how he is to take it. And not attractive at all. And although the devotee proceeds by partly renouncing and partly retaining it, renouncing that which obstructs him, retaining because it is God's creation. He too at long last renounces it wholly and arrives at the truth. So the result has to be the same. He has to renounce it ultimately. What is the truth? One without a second. The renunciation of that common conception of the universe colored by our selfishness, which has made enjoyment the only goal of life, has been called by the scriptures detachment or dispassion, vairagya. So, vairagya is common to bhakti, vairagya is common to knowledge. As human life is ever changing, now the two paths is taking separately. As the human life is ever changing and ends in sure death, that is our observance. A little calm mind observes clearly that universe is changing and ends in death. Sure death. The knowledge of the transitoriness of the world arises easily in it. Easily. Should arise. Therefore, it is probable that in the past, the search for the ultimate cause of the universe at first took the path of not this, together with the complete renunciation of the common conception of the universe. And that is why the complete development of the path of knowledge is seen to have taken place in the Upanishads before the path of devotion became complete in all respects, though both were simultaneously invoked. Because the Brahman is immanent. So the path of devotion is there. But the development, because of the Kshanabhangurata of the world and ending in death, that is the common experience of all. If we are observing, attentive to that, it leads to analysis and knowledge. And the other path, we know, we feel God. That is the importance of that path. No proof is required. I feel attraction for God. So that itself becomes the proof of God. But what is the nature of God? I do not know. I know that he rules the world, and I know that I love him. And then slowly, as I evolve due to this love, that I will get the clear conception. Though both were simultaneously involved. Up to this, we had read yesterday. I did not read back the first para because sadhana has to be understood. The goal of the path of not this is to know what am I. A question is raised, path of which is the path for householders. Now in this dealing, Saradananda Swamiji is not describing that. Not that he is not describing path for householder. He is not distinguishing sannyasi and householder. He is describing the nature of the path. You can follow this, grihasthas can follow this. If you cannot follow this, naturally, you follow that. So that is how Saradananda Swamiji is differentiating, not by the form of life. So this householder and a sannyasi are two forms of life. Let me tell you a story. I might have told you several times. I know a person, personally, my youngest elder brother. Among the elder brother, the youngest. Now, he married. 55 years he lived with his wife. And yet, he used to think and visualize, maybe experience, Yajnavalkya and all other Upanishads. So there is no difference. My Guruji had told him, you marry, don't fear. I know the pattern, I see clearly that the pattern of your life is different. So it is a question of pattern. I advise all of you have this question in the mind to study in detail, find out, study in detail the life of Balaram Bose, Sri Ramakrishna's householder devotee. To tell you in short, when his death was approaching, he did not allow his wife or people in his house to come near him. And Sri Ramakrishna's and Swami Vivekananda's sannyasi disciples, Shivananda, Niranjanananda, and Sadananda was Swamiji's disciple. They were three constant attendants on him. So here is a question of Grihastha and Vanaprastha there. So, Nagmasha was Thakur's Saudara's disciple. Read his life. But that is from the beginning like a sannyasi. So I advised you Balaram's knowledge. Balaram's house, today even if you go, you feel it absolutely pure and spiritual. Thakur, Ma, Swami Vivekananda, Brahman Swamiji, and many Thakur's disciples lived there whenever they wanted. Brahman Swamiji passed away there. There is a hall. In one portion of the hall, Balram Babu passed away. In the center of the hall, Brahman Swamiji passed away. In the other extreme of the hall, Preman Swamiji passed away. So even toward the end of the life, they lived there. So, find out for yourself. Anyway, we shall discuss devotion path, Saradananda Swamiji has discussed, and if that is suitable, you follow that. But there is no barring. Janaka was a householder in ancient times, and he was questioning Yajna Ashtavakra all the time. So, this you have to find out. Pattern of life may be different. but how you lead it, what leads to Anubhuti, just as Sardhan Swami described now. So two parts clearly he will describe the neti neti and the iti iti. So I did not read further today, rather I discussed this question of householder sadhana. And coming back to our topic, better we take it up tomorrow. Because once you take it up, it has to continue. Om Sarvadharma Sthapakastam Sarvadharma Swarupakaha Acharyanam Acharyo Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanam.